I've got a great idea. Let's put the infrastructure on the World Wide Web. How you doing? AKA the Weathered Soul here with DJ Dougie there on the Weathered Soul podcast, the best podcast that you've never heard of. We want to welcome you here to our little 7 o'clock spot on Monday night. It is tax day. Happy tax day. This is
joy. Yeah.
This is Dougie's favorite day of the year that he gets to pay tax.
Usually it is. Usually we get a big old fat check, but this year we got a bunch of money sucked out.
Well, no. You enjoy paying your taxes. It's been widely spread around in the last podcast that you love.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we love this sun here in California. We love to be able to pay for the sun to be on as much as we do here in California, and half of that is taxes. And no, it's just one of those days that they extended the tax date from April 15th to May 17th. And today, if you're watching the podcast with us, you know that you were there probably frantically filling out your 1040s and your 560s and your everything else.
Oh, God, yeah.
And making that little extension if you can and writing that check or hoping that you get a little bit back. But, man, what a horrid day for some people, man.
Yeah, irregardless, it's still a lot of money. Whether you get a little back at the end or you get nothing back, or
if you
have to pay some.
Yeah, if you get a little back, it's you're not getting it back with interest as the IRS would charge you if you didn't pay. And then if you
right, that's the other side of it.
And then if you are paying your taxes, you're just paying, what they paid for 10 years ago. So I mean, go ahead.
That's what my dad always used to say. Why overpay your taxes and have the government be a bank for you that's giving you no interest?
Yeah, because exactly.
You're better off paying them a little bit, not too much. You don't want to go too far, but you're better off having to pay them at the end of the year than having them hold on to extra money for you throughout the year.
Yeah.
Because they don't do you any favors with it.
Well, yeah, they're not going to pay you any interest on your money, but they're going to charge you interest if you're a day late.
Yeah, they charge you interest.
I don't know.
They charge you interest on the bankruptcy they put you into.
I have no idea how that works, but it's just incredible how they let that work. But yeah.
Well, I've actually seen a let's see, what was it? A letter from unemployment, right? What was it EDD?
Mm-hmm.
To an employee saying your income's being held.
Yeah.
Like your boss is sending your paycheck to me today.
I have had that happen to me before because whether people know it or not, AKA the Weathered Soul has not always been the upstanding, lawful citizen that you see in front of you today.
You mean before you found your personal responsibility?
Yeah, before I found my But then again, hey, you're listening to the Weathered Soul podcast here. We're on YouTube Live. We're on Facebook Live. If you're watching either one of those, hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to our podcast. I got a little clue for you. If you guys go and listen to our audio podcast on anchor.fm, which is on anchor.fm/ the Weathered Soul podcast, go over there and just subscribe and tell it to download. You don't even have to listen to it. All you have to do is download, and guess what? We get paid. And that's what's great about anchor.fm. If you want to go to anchor.fm and make a podcast, go ahead. It's a free service, and they will give you all kinds of things to make sure that your podcast goes out to the right spots, like iTunes, what is it called? iPod Podcast or Apple Podcast now is what it's called. We're on Stitcher. We're on Podbean. We're on every podcatcher that you can think of, and you can get us there. Or like I said, go to anchor.fm / the Weathered Soul podcast, and you can get us there. You can get us here every Monday night at 7 o'clock at Facebook Live, the YouTube Live, and pretty soon we're going to be on Rumble. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get us onto Rumble in a live feed. I'm not sure if I can without doing 2 feeds at the same time, but that's a technical problem, a first world problem that AKA the Weathered Soul has to do. But we love hearing from you guys every week. We're getting more listeners every week. I had a dynamic. We had our viewers went off the charts last week. So I guess we did something right with our viewership. We had a couple of comments that I don't have readily available with me, and that it all comes down to the podcast where I can't talk. I can talk all the time, but but we just enjoy you being here, and DJ Jug enjoys you being here, and another thing is that we are looking for sponsors. We are looking for people to advertise with the Weathered Soul podcast. Please drop us an email at info@theweatheredsoul.com. info@weatheredsoul.com, or you can call me on my personal phone, 408-842-1328. Leave me a message and we will get back to you. So great weekend for me. I went and I played golf at Aptos Seascape down at the beach, and it was cold and it was windy and it was dewy and it was all kinds of stuff, but had a good time, and didn't golf quite as well as I had the last 2 months, but had a great time, and got a little more stuff done in the backyard. I don't have our garden segment done again because I've been so damn busy. But I know you've been busy too, Doug. So
it doesn't mean we can't talk a little garden.
Yeah, we can talk.
It's always a little garden. I mean, you can talk. Yeah.
Well, basically, what I did is I actually took my compost out and actually put it on my garden this last weekend. And believe me, I'm telling you guys, I mean, I always brag that my soil is like up to date and it's always healthy and stuff like that. But then again, as you grow and grow throughout the years, you deplete your soil really immensely. And the best thing you can do is amend your soil as much as you can. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons that you don't grow the same crop in the same box every year. You know, tomatoes in this box this year, peppers next year, tomatoes in that box next year.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I was noticing is that without my compost on there, I mean, the water was just soaking through and just down through and everything, and basically the wind, because we're a little windy here in Gilroy, and the sun is really, we got a big high UV index here in California, because it's 300 days a year we get sunlight, so we pay taxes on that, but.
No.
Really but anyway, so I ended up putting the compost onto my garden, and I'm telling you, within 3 hours, because I did this in like the middle of the afternoon, and I came back out a couple hours later, and just the moisture that was already in the soil that was mixing with the compost and causing that, I would imagine, a thermo reaction or some kind of a chemical reaction in between the two pieces sitting together. My plants were sitting at attention at about 6 o'clock in the evening. I mean, just like straight up and tall, and just going like, all right, we love this. And,
yeah, well, there's two things about that I'd like to mention. One is, if you don't put something on your soil to help, especially around here, to help keep the moisture in, it'll get too dry, and then it becomes hydrophobic. I don't know if you've ever had that, where you pour water on the ground and it just like runs off like on a duck's back.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And then you're in trouble, because you got to do a lot of tilling to get some wet stuff back in there. Yeah. And the other thing is you can make compost tea too. You take your compost, put it in a big old barrel of water, and then let it settle, and scoop the water off the top and water with that. And that helps get that good stuff down into the roots too.
Right. But kind of the best thing that you can do to keep the soil moist is to actually put compost right back down on top of your soil, and just let it decompose throughout the year. I mean, I had to teach Tracy how to water last year, because she was one of those blaster ones, put it on the freaking jet stream and drill right down to the bottom. Drill right down to the bottom. But I've taught her how to use the shower now, and that I'm a really light waterer. I mean, if anybody knows how to water, I mean, you really should. Your plants only need like an inch of water a week. I mean, it's actually really not that much. I mean, some of these people, like some of my garden is done with timers and drips, but a lot of my garden, about half my garden now, is hand watering, and I found out that hand watering is much more efficient
Yes.
than just going ahead and let it drip, because you really don't have any control over your drip. You're getting the same amount of water every time you water, but the fact is that you don't know whether some of your stuff's being overwatered or underwatered. You really don't.
Well, yeah, I never really liked using the drippers because you only have it in one spot, right?
Yeah.
So you get a tunnel 2 inches wide down, 18 inches or something of water,
Right,
and all the roots have to go to it.
Right.
Right. I like to use those bubbly head ones and spread it out about the diameter of what I figured, half of what the plant is. So
right, but once you do that with every plant that you have, if you're growing like me, it's just like you're using your water inefficiently, and you're not getting water to everything that you need.
It's a hell of a plumbing project too.
It is a heck of a plumbing project. That is a fact. But I end up soaking my boxes like twice a week, and that's all they need. I mean, really, a lot of people just get these outrageous water bills, and right now in California we don't have room for no outrageous water, outrageous anything. Because
I got one of those next door, man. Doug, look, he's watering with his hose wide open on the grass. Look, it's not wet enough yet. The worms are coming up to get to the water. Like, oh, good God, man. Yeah. I love you, brother, but I can't help you anymore.
The worms are drowning, man. The worms are drowning. Yeah. And a lot of things, I tell you what, being a homeowner, and I was just been a homeowner for 12 years. So when I first came to Gilroy, and I thought, great, I'm going to have a nice lawn and all this other stuff, and it was fine, and when I got in here, I had a sprinkler system, and I used to let it go off, when it was going off, and man, my water bill is just astronomical. Well, I found out that this year I've been turning the water down on my lawn. I'm down to like 3 days a week at like 7 minutes.
I guess it's all right.
21 minutes a week. My lawn gets watered.
I water my weeds anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour a week.
Yeah, we got a lot of crabgrass here. So I guess that's our garden segment for today. But
right on, perfect.
I really have some video. I really need to get into the studio. I really need to buckle down and really I've been concentrating on my Plexus business. It's going crazy right now. I got some new customers came in from last week from my business relaunch. I thank all you guys. My sister Lori came in. I got a couple other people that are interested, and I'm working with those. I'm working on a marathon podcast that's going to happen on Saturday afternoon, 2:00. It's called In the Pit of Your Stomach. What do I have to do to get you to try Plexus? And I've got a couple of things that I'm going to be posting on In the Pit of My Stomach webpage. I'll show it to you later, but it's basically you try Plexus, and I do this one little stunt for you. So I'm coming up with the stunts. I'll probably have it posted by tomorrow. I will send everybody out the link. The link is in the show notes right now. As a matter of fact, all the links that we're going to talk about today are in the show notes. The only thing that I didn't get to was Eric Larson's COVID Independence Day on June 1st, but we have a link to that if you guys wanted to go see what Eric Larson has to say. We're going to open up with that because I thought it was very interesting. In fact, I don't have the video with me because I can't get to play over the internet and play here at the same time, and I couldn't get Eric to a time for Eric to get it to me, but basically,
Eric, just hold my phone up to the camera.
Yeah, you could, but anyway, it wouldn't work very well. I was going to put my DI unit and everything and hook it up to the mixer, but it was just not going to work today. But anyway, Eric Larson is a anesthesiologist in Minnesota or Michigan, and he has been very, very, very active in doing research and stuff. He has his own podcast called The Paradox. Go check it out if you guys love doctor stuff. I mean, The Paradox is a really, really good podcast. He talks a lot about the medical business and stuff like that. But anyway, what he was saying is that, and I agree with Dougie, because me and Dougie have had this discussion many, many times about herd immunity. And how everybody is expecting that within getting the vaccine and other people having COVID, whether we were going to get to herd immunity. And the fact of the matter is that because of the nature of what COVID is, and because basically really what COVID is the common cold. It really is. When you get right down to it, that's what causes common cold is a coronavirus. However,
Yeah,
the
but it's not COVID-2.
but it's not COVID-2. It's not SARS-2. The fact
I mean,
is,
that's like saying a cold sore is the same as like herpes complex.
yeah,
It's different.
yeah,
Yeah, same family but different.
yeah, same family
Yeah.
but different.
Yeah.
So what Eric has said was this, and I'll just kind of paraphrase for him. It's just like, especially here in California and some of the places that have really had their act together with getting vaccinations. And we're not anti-vax here. Neither me or Doug are. We have some listeners that are anti-vax. That's fine with you guys. If you want to do that, that's fine. I don't care. But we're not anti-vaxxers. We think that if you are in a risk category, that you should probably do what's best for you. And if you are not in a risk category, then you should do what's best for you. Same thing that Eric Larson kind of says the same thing. However, in California, in the state that he lives in, it's just like at this point in time, everybody has had enough time, wanted to get a vaccine, could at least have gotten their first vaccine shot, and those who don't want to are not going to get their vaccine shot.
Yeah, that's why new vaccine numbers are plummeting.
Yes,
because everybody who's wanted has got it.
Yeah,
and there's a few stragglers, and maybe a couple of people are going to change their minds. But it's about done.
There's going to be people like me. There's going to be people like the couple of guys that I listen to a podcast called Good Morning Liberty that are going like, when I get to the library, when I get to the DMV, that's when I'm going to get it. It's just like it's that mentality that they're using. But what Eric is trying to say is that since everybody has had the chance to get the vaccine, and everybody who had the chance to who didn't get the vaccine, it's kind of a moot point to just stop the economy and keep these lockdowns going, mask mandates and all that other stuff, which is perfectly okay for a private business to say, you're not coming into our place without a mask. I mean, Costco posted an email today on my email that says that they're dropping their mask requirements for all their stores except for places that obviously have a health department says that they need to wear masks
unless it's locally required.
Locally required. So what Eric has imposed is that on June 1st we have a COVID Independence Day, which means that we should just logically get rid of all these mandates, lockdowns, and stuff like that. I halfway agree with him. Oh, actually, I fully agree with him. I don't know what Doug's persona is on it. I can imagine what it is. We're going to let him talk here in a minute. But I think it's a very good video to take a look at. He's very common sense. He admits, number one, that he's not an expert, but he has, he's a doctor. He follows this. Mm-hmm. He's been in the anesthesiology. I'm sure that he's been working on patients and done anesthesia for patients that have had COVID. His family is vaccinated and things like that. So he just gives you a very common sense approach on it. And I really urge you to go down to the show notes and listen to it. It's on Facebook right now, but I'm sure that you can find it in YouTube. Doug, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the last year, there's going to still, after the trauma of the last year, there's still going to be some, post-traumatic stress syndromes going on out there. I think you're still going to see people like driving by themselves in their cars with their windows rolled up wearing a mask. Still going to be those people out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're going to have to get used to that. And I think that the idea of wearing masks more often in public is smart, but I don't, I know even back in the late 1980s in Japan, everybody wore a surgical mask and white gloves. I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, but 80% of the people.
Yeah,
I mean, it was overwhelming. It almost looked silly. It's like, what the hell are you people hiding from? Really?
I know. We touched on that last week because I was commenting with the big I can't divulge who I work for or the company that I work for. But we have a very heavily Asian population in our company, and a lot of them, wear masks all the time, especially in the wintertime. And so there's definitely a culture that has been brought up that way. I'm not sure if it goes anywhere near.
You also have to remember, like
other,
a place like Japan is a lot more crowded. I mean, it's like um, you know, large areas are like our cities, even though it's sprawling and sprawling and sprawling.
yeah,
It's not that big of a place. It's a
yeah,
lot of mountains. So
right.
where people can live, they're packed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
you've been there, not me. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of country too, but in the urban areas, people are packed. Like so you've heard the rhetoric about they got pushers to shove people into subway trains. They got like sumo guys that push the last 4 people into the doors, and yeah. So I mean, they're pretty damn close quarters.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, there's been some pros and some real bad cons to coronavirus pandemic and everything. But I think some of the pros is that we actually learned how to be more clean. I mean, really. I mean, when you think about it, it only took me a couple of weeks to, be washing my hands every time I did something that was out of the ordinary, or whatever, be washing your hands. And believe me, I think that has a lot to do with some of the virus control that we've had.
Yeah, and there's other habits that I've always had, like because I traveled a lot. I was in all sorts of airports and stuff, and I mean a tin can with some guy coughing down my neck and that sort of stuff. But like say, you keep your health up, you keep your vitamins up, get your rest, and just kind of stay healthy a little bit. But there are things that you can do to protect yourself. But I think that to get back to the original point, at some point we're going to have to say, this is now part of our life.
Yeah.
Let's stop hiding from it.
We have to live with it. We're
going to have to figure out how to live with it. Yeah, because we have to get on with our lives. This is bullshit.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, look, the Spanish flu. I mean, in 1918. I mean, I'm sure that there are still remnants, or like you said, what am I looking at? Remnants of the Spanish flu that are still around, or at least the evolution of that virus still around somewhere.
Yeah. Right. It probably evolved into something less deadly, and it's still with us.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like a couple of experts that I've been listening to, virologists and things like immunologists, talking about how the viruses can turn themselves on and off. And I mean, it just depends on what virus is going to be dominant in that year. And then, it's just like an enemy against, it's just like an army against another army. If you have a big army comes and, tromping down the way, some of these armies are going to go away and they're going to hide. And I think that's exactly what kind of viruses do. And we're learning more.
Yeah, let's go back and you said something about the common cold.
Yeah.
Okay. I never did any research on it. I suppose I could, but let's just imagine, or just do a thought thing here. Like when the first common cold came out, how bad was it? How bad did it affect people? How many people got pneumonia from it? How many?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
There wasn't as much. I'm sure it was long enough ago that there wasn't the science that we needed to be able to get that information. But right, well, it's still with us.
But it's still with us,
and people get sick from it all the time. But they don't. Yeah. But not too many die from it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it turns into pneumonia, and then you're in deep shit. But not that often. And if you listen to and read the research on how COVID affects your lungs, the sacs fill with fluid, just like with pneumonia.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, the effects. Yeah. Maybe the actions inside your immune system aren't the same, but the overall effect is your lungs fill with fluid you can't breathe.
Right. Yeah.
And we have the common cold still with us today. I mean, it's probably floating in both of us right now.
Probably.
Yeah.
I hate the cold.
I hate colds too, but if you're careful, you can keep it from being too bad.
Right.
I mean, you get a cold. I mean, they even have medicines for colds now, like that Zicam stuff. If you catch it early enough, right? They said no, you're never going to be able to cure the common cold. Okay, fine, but they have stuff that remediates it.
And I'm pretty sure that they'll probably come out with something for COVID. So on down the road. And we didn't touch on this last week, but we wanted to, and I don't even have anything prepared. But they were talking about the intellectual property for these viruses, or for stuff. We're going to get into that, at a different date. But I really want to touch on that one of these days. But we got to get on with the show because we've got other people or other stories to get to, and I've got
people to see and things to do. Come on,
yeah, people see things to do, and many miles before I sleep. Tell us, remember that money.
Okay.
So the name of the show today is, I got to show you again. What is it? It is, I got a great idea. Infrastructure on the World Wide Web. So
that's right.
In case you Colonial Pipeline Company paid nearly $5 million to Eastern European hackers on Friday, contradicting reports earlier this week that the company had no intention to pay an extortion fee to help restore the country's largest fuel pipeline, according to two people familiar with the transaction. And this comes out of I don't even know who it came out of. I closed that already, but I believe
I know one way we can fix that.
I believe it was Bloomberg, but Bloomberg report, yeah, go ahead.
No, don't go ahead. Yeah, Bloomberg.
Okay, so the company paid $100 in a difficult to trace cryptocurrency within hours after the attack, underscoring the immense pressure faced by the Georgia-based operator to get gasoline and jet fuel flowing again to the major cities along the eastern seaboard. Those people said a third person familiar with the situation said that U.S. government officials are aware and that Colonial had made the payment. A representative from Colonial declined to comment. Colonial said it began to resume fuel shipments around 5 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. When Bloomberg News asked President Joe Biden if he was briefed on the company's ransom payment, the president paused and then said, "I have no comment on that." The hackers, which FBI said are linked to a group called DarkSide, specialized in digital extortion and are believed to be located in Russia or Eastern Europe. So that's kind of a little bit of what we got highlighted here. Also, however, Ann Neuenberg, the White House top cybersecurity official, pointedly declined to say whether the company should pay cyber ransoms at a briefing early this week. We recognize, though, that companies are often in a difficult position if their data is encrypted and they do not have backups and cannot recover the data, she's told reporters on Monday. Excuse me. So, I've always had a problem with this, man. And, what was it? Nothing but, I think it was 5 years ago when they shot up the substation down in Coyote. Not too long ago. Yeah. And it was actually an armed assault on our infrastructure. But to have our infrastructure so vulnerable to those types of attack, and I know, you can't prevent somebody shooting at a transformer on a substation, but you could have prevented this pipeline from being hacked and shut down, or their computers shut down, because I don't know in whose mind thought that being on a public World Wide Web is a smart way to manage your infrastructure. I mean, and I know that the World Wide Web was made especially for these types of situations, made by the military to run military installations and things like that. But somebody got the great idea that this would be great for anything. So now we have our water, we have our electrical grid, we have pipelines, we have all types of other things to hacked into.
Everything, banking, everything.
Think about it. And I really think that
even your car.
Yeah, even your car. Yeah, somebody can shut your car down. Not a problem. They can just hack right into it. Tesla is an excellent example. And I don't know what they're going to do about it, man. I have no idea. What's your insights, Doug? I'm kind of speechless on it.
Well, it'll cost a lot of money to make a police force to enforce, regulations on the internet, right? I mean, it's like trying to tax the air.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't. I don't know how you can do it. I think the only thing you do is to have hardened systems that are closed circuit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I was going like, it wasn't too long ago that, those they weren't online.
No, they weren't.
And they and they worked fine. And that's what
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Like big companies like IBM
Yeah, like
had
IBM.
their own network inside the building. It went from one computer, another computer to another computer, server, computer, whatever. And then it went on a dedicated line over to the other building.
AT&T
And
had
it,
their own
yeah,
system. Pac Bell had their own system.
yeah.
PG&E had their own system. And somewhere down the line, somebody said, "Hey, the World Wide Web is the way to
Yeah.
go."
Well, you know what it was? I think it was intranet was too hard to say. So they just went internet and everybody said, okay, internet.
Yeah. It's amazing. You know, so I'm going to go on to say one of Andrengel Kerhill, Chief Executive Officer and founder of the Digital Forensics Lab, Lifers, said they had to pay. This is a cyber cancer. You want to die or you want to live. It's not a situation where you can wait. Keishel said that $5 million ransom for the pipeline was very low. Ransom is usually around $25 million to $35 million for such a company. I think the threat actor realized that they stepped on the wrong company and triggered a massive government response, he said. Here's something that I don't understand. The $5 million ransom for a pipeline is very low.
Yeah.
And the usual ransom is $25 million to $35 million for such a company. Why haven't we heard about these $25 million and $35 million ransoms that have been paid to these people to unlock their computers? It's amazing.
Because you know the beauty of it is they got insurance for that. So it's like,
and as you told me the other day, it's like, who says that this wasn't an inside job?
Right.
You know, it's always there. A report released last month says the ransomware task force said that the amount paid by the victims increased by 311% in 2020, reaching about 350 million in cryptocurrency. The average ransom paid by organizations in 2020 was $312,493, according to a report. And that comes out of Bloomberg. What
a mess.
What a mess. Right? What a mess. We'll be right back.
Right on.
All right, we're back on the Weather Soul podcast, the greatest, best podcast you've never heard of. I'm AKA the Weather Soul. Right over there is DJ Dougie, and we're here for the second half of our podcast. We're live here on YouTube and also on Facebook Live. We hope you guys are out there. Comment lines are open if you want to leave a comment that we can comment on later. Give us a 5-star rating over on iTunes or any place that you can give us a rating or a comment. We love comments. We love hate mail. We love mail. We love all those kinds of mail. Dougie. And we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about, because we got I come up with these talk-ups all the time. As soon as I get off of here the next day, Dougie's phone blows up because I'm
thinking about stuff we should have said.
And here's what blows up your head, Doug.
Yeah. Well, like we said before, you know what? We're kind of shooting from the hip here, topic to topic, stuff that interests us, stuff that catches our attention because we think it may be wrong or it may be right, whatever. But, if, with comments, that gives us a target to aim at, right? We know what you guys want to hear, right? We know what you guys want to hear if you tell us. If you don't tell us, then we're shooting from the hip, and where they land is where they land. Sometime we're going to hit your target, sometime we're not. Yeah,
we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. So, but we want to welcome you to the Weather Soul podcast. Absolutely love you guys listening to us every week. Our listenership is going up. You can catch the audio portion of this podcast on anchor.fm. If you go to anchor.fm and subscribe to the podcast, we get paid. You don't even have to listen to the podcast. Just subscribe and download it.
Oh, that just gave me a nasty idea. How many email accounts do you think you can handle?
Anchor.fm, the Weather Soul podcast is where you can get us. That's our home, but you can get us on any of your places. You can get us on Apple Podcasts. You can get us on Google Podcasts. You can get us on Stitcher, on any place that you get your podcast. you can get us on. You're welcome to listen to us and download us anytime. You can contact us via the couple of ways that you can go. You can go to Facebook and go to the AKA Weathered Soul podcast site, or you can go to YouTube, leave us, everything's in the show notes. So that's all I got to say right now. Go down to the show notes, click on a link. You can get there from there, and then you can leave us a comment, leave us nasty comments, good comments, 5-star reviews, 1-star reviews, anything to get us up the charts so we can reach more people, and share this podcast if you can with anybody that you want, mostly your enemies, because we like to see everybody's head pop. And I'm going to make Dougie's head pop right now because I'm going to quote something from
Sure you are.
He loves it. His favorite website is OAN. OAN, One American News Network, because he loves it. An OAN poll finds that over 60% of people want Tulsi Gabbard to replace Gavin Newsom as governor of California. And before we get into that, I wanted to tell you why I chose that particular one. Is because OAN, I go here so infrequently, I don't even know what they are. One American News Network is we'll call it a Trumpian network, okay? We'll call it an ultra-conservative network, whatever you want to call it. And,
it's a network for people who want to hear that.
Yeah,
just like all of them.
Just like all of them. So, but especially for Dougie, that I don't think he believes it. But okay, so they don't talk a lot of Democratic stuff on OAN.
Well, let me just put it this way: have you ever seen news clips of the news from North Korea?
I have. You're going,
Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
So the race to replace California's disastrously unpopular Governor Gavin Newsom saw a surprising challenger ride to the top. Tulsi Gabbard, the former Hawaiian congressman, hasn't yet thrown her hat into the ring, but nearly 30,000 people responded to an OAN poll proving that Gabbard, with over 60% of the vote, was far the better people's favorite. In the Twitter survey, Gabbard handily beat second-place challenger Caitlyn Jenner by 40 percentage points, and Republican candidate John Cox trailed at a distant third with only 10% of the vote, and GOP pick Keval Falconer came in dead last with barely 5% of the vote. Gabbard, a Democratic and decorated Army veteran, has always maintained a moderate position, and many believe her common sense approach to leadership is exactly what California needs. Well, I like Tulsi Gabbard because I like Tulsi Gabbard.
She's a hippie, man. No, she's a good person.
She's a good person. I think I think she's a really
and I got to tell you, if they had polled me and given me those 4 choices, it'd be a no-brainer for me.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, those are my 4 choices.
John Cox.
Yeah. Jenner, Cox, and Falconer, or Tulsi Gabbard. Gee, that's a tough one, man.
That's a tough one. I have never made myself. If you guys follow me on Facebook or any place like that, Twitter or any place, you know that I'm a Tulsi Gabbard fan. I'm a libertarian by trade. I like Justin Amash. I like a lot of the libertarian candidates. But basically, if Tulsi was to come and want to run for president for the Libertarian Party, I'd vote for her 200 times. Because
as many as I get my hands on.
Because you can do that. And we joke a lot around here.
Only in Arizona and Georgia.
Only in Arizona and Georgia can you vote 200 times. But I thought it was an interesting article. I teased Dougie about it because I love teasing Dougie. I like to watch.
Well, if there's an ounce of truth to it, I believe it. 18,000 or whatever out of 30,000 said Tulsi, and then the other 12,000 were split amongst these, and it seems pretty much Jenner is next, and Cox is I guess he's spending some money on advertisements, running around with that bear and stuff. It's
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Yeah, the next thing I'm gonna expect to see is Falconer getting a clown suit and some some of those stilts, walking around with a big hat. I mean,
it's no worse than Gavin running around right now trying to buy everybody off and buy your vote. So
he's doing a great job, man. He's bought mine.
Huh?
He bought mine.
He
bought mine when he was elected 24 months ago.
He's gonna.
Okay, and that's the only one he needs.
He's going to give 78% of us $600 as a either going away present or a hey I'm back gift.
Yeah. Well, we've got a surplus, so why not?
Yeah, well, only 78% of us is getting any type of that surplus back. I think that's kind of unfair. So I mean, I think if we all pay taxes, then we should all kind of share into the.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the ones who don't pay taxes don't get the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's
like rich people.
Like the
rich people.
The rich people.
Yeah,
rich
they don't pay any taxes, so they don't get any back. Sorry.
Say that. We can say that.
I say that with a gut laugh, man.
He does say that with a chuckle laugh, but all with the show. Hey, in case you missed it today, the Supreme Court has been hot and heavy lately. They're debating all kinds of things. They're debating the abortion law. They're debating all kinds of other stuff. But something interesting came down from the court today that I think everybody should know, and it was a 9-0 slam dunk that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously today against warrantless searches by police and seizures in the home in a case brought by a man whose guns officers confiscated after a domestic dispute. I always thought that this was a constitutional privilege that we all had. Fourth Amendment, the right to not be able to be illegal seizures
without cause.
Yep. But unfortunately, that the Supreme Court had to go over it again and make sure that they were right. So they were right.
Well, because the police. Well, the founding fathers wrote it that way, and the police kind of kept shaving an inch, shaving an inch, shaving an inch, shaving an inch.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, geez. I mean, 10 years ago, I was like, I think I smell pot. Let's kick the door in.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. The very core of the Fourth Amendment guarantee is the right for a person to retreat into his or her home to be free of unreasonable government intrusion, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote for the court. The case involved a heated argument between a long-married couple, Edwin and Kim Caniglia, and he brought out a gun and told her to shoot him to put him out of his misery. How many times have we done that?
Well, if she really loved him, she would have. Sorry.
And then after he left the house in a huff, she hid his gun and spent the night in a motel. The next morning, unable to reach her husband, she asked the police to escort her to her home because she was afraid that she might find out that he harmed himself. The police found the husband on the front porch and sent him for a psychological evaluation. Later that day, doctors concluded that he was not a threat to himself or others and released him. In the meantime, police had confiscated his guns and his ammunition, so he sued, alleging an illegal search and seizure of his home. The lower courts ruled that the police could enter his home under the so-called the community caretaking exception to the constitutional warrant requirement, but Thomas, writing for the unanimous court, noted that the recognition that police officers perform many civic tasks in modern society was just that, a recognition that these tasks exist and not an open-ended license to perform them anywhere. Which brings me to the point to where, you have a domestic dispute, and I know that a lot of, there's domestic violence out there.
Wait a second. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay. If he'd taken the gun and pointed at her,
yes,
everything's A-okay. But that's not what happened.
Makes it different. It does make a difference on the intention of what you do with your gun.
Yes.
And that's a fact. If he pointed it at himself or he just said, here's the gun. Would you just shoot me and get me out of my misery, Edith?
Yeah. Then he should go see his psych.
You're hearing Arch Bunker do this. I mean, you're
right. He should go get his head checked and a little bit of counseling and get on with life. But if he threatened his wife and she ran out of the house in fear of her life and called the cops.
Yeah. That's
totally different. That's totally different.
That's different.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
So the cops are treating it like the latter.
Yeah,
they're treating it like he threatened her.
Right. So
Right?
domestic violence is actually an ugly thing, and let's set that aside because we're not talking about that there. We're talking about a long married couple like me and Tracy's been married for over 30 years now, and it's just like, oh, shoot me, do the Archie Bunkie routine where he's and he,
Yeah. Right. Like really, I mean,
Edith,
when my back when my back was out and I was lying on the floor in misery, and Abby would say, "Hey, is there anything I can do for you?" I say, "Yeah, if you love me, you'll shoot me." Oh my God, call the cops.
So what stands out in this, besides the illegal searches, seizures, that the police found the husband on the front porch and then sent him got him to put him in custody and sent him for a psychological evaluation. So that's another thing. That's another thing that stands out in this article to me, is that, like, for what reason? What law did this guy break? What reasonable law did this man break for them to detain him and even send him for a psychological evaluation?
He asked somebody to euthanize him.
So
most states that's illegal.
It's legal in the state of California and legal in the state of Oregon. So I mean, well,
if a doctor does it.
Yeah, if a doctor does it.
Well, if somebody walked down the street and handed you a gun and said, "Would you shoot me, please?" Would you think there's a problem with them?
Yeah,
let alone your wife. I mean,
but I'm glad that the Supreme Court actually found in favor of this guy and put their rubber stamp on the line for the Fourth Amendment and illegal search and seizures. And let's hope that the police associations and the police unions and police departments and sheriff departments and law enforcement in general take that into heed when they enter somebody's house, that they just when they're willy-nilly and just ask for and look for anything that they want to look for.
Right. And if you're driving down, whatever, 10 years ago, you're driving down the highway, then there's a pack of rolling papers on your back seat, and you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, and the cop wants to search your car because he sees rolling papers.
Mm-hmm.
That's that case right there.
Yep, that case right there. Absolutely.
Rolling papers are legal. They're not illegal. There's nothing wrong here. Go away.
Go away. Somebody else.
But they don't. They wouldn't. No. Oh boy, there's something I can bust.
That's what they're looking for.
Yep.
Something else that's going away could be the Oakland A's.
What's going on with Major League Baseball and the Oakland A's?
Major League Baseball, man, just coming down with the ultimatum on the A's. And this is out of let me see, this is out of what is this out of? Front Office Sports. And actually this was national news all over the place. That they say that in negotiations, the side that can walk away has the advantage. The Oakland A's are flexing power with a fresh threat to relocate the team and cannot secure a new ballpark. The team said on Tuesday that they were directed by Major League Baseball to explore other cities, and that the 55-year-old Oakland Coliseum is not a viable option for the team going forward. The A's have a new design on a new Oakland Stadium at Howard Turnbull waterfront area, which is like one of the many places that they had it. And Major League Baseball released a statement citing concerns about the rate of progress on the team's ballpark. And he said that any effort to rebuild the current Coliseum site where the A's lease expires in 2024 is not a viable option for the future vision of baseball. The league wants the team in a downtown waterfront stadium or in a new city. Studying the glacial negotiations with the city government, the team president, Dave Cavall, wrote to fans, "It is unclear to us and Major League Baseball whether there's a path to success for the A's in Oakland." Recently, the NFL's Raiders left the city for Las Vegas in 2020, just 4 months after the NBA's Warriors moved across the bay to San Francisco, and Vegas is a possible relocation target for the A's per ESPN. Keeping the A's in Oaktown may hinge on the city approving a $12 billion development plan laid out by the team, and the plan includes $1 billion for the stadium, 3,000 units for housing, and 1.5 million square feet of office space. A's also included a relocation agreement in the term sheet submitted back in April and is approved by the city. The city council is expected to vote on the proposal this summer. What really stands out with me on this is that I've been in this area since, the first ballpark that I ever laid my feet in was the Oakland Coliseum back in 1968. I was 8 years old. I was a Cub Scout. We went to a game, and it was an iconic stadium now. But believe me, there's no aesthetic quality to Oakland Coliseum. It's not an icon. It's not a Fenway Park. It's not a Comiskey Park. It wasn't a Yankee Stadium. It wasn't anything like that. It was a state of the art at the time full stadium that would take care of dual sports at the time. It was made for dual sports, and believe me, it's just dilapidated. The last time I was there, it was in really, really bad shape. They're really just not taking care of it. But the problem is here is not the city of Oakland that has the problem. It is actually the owners of this ballpark. And I've been through ownership with this ball team, and they just keep hammering on the fans, or excuse me, the taxpayers should foot the bill for the ballpark. And I totally disagree with that.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I don't think, the city of Santa Clara foot the bill for the ballpark for the San Francisco 49ers. I would have been dead set against it, because I think that if you're owner of a franchise, you've got a multi-billion-dollar industry that you got in sports. There's no reason why you guys cannot lay down the cash to lay down some grounds for a ballpark and make a commitment to those people that you want to stay in their town. And I think
Well, here's the thing. When the city owns it, they can lease it to whoever they want, so you can get concerts and things like that in there.
Right.
All right. If it's under private ownership, then they decide who goes in there. But of course, they're probably going to try to keep it as full as possible to make money.
Exactly. So right. I think that the free market works in this deal. I think that the owners have been trying to do this forever and ever and ever, and they just haven't had the cojones to pull out. And I think that they don't want to pay a lot of litigation money, like Al from the Oakland Raiders did. I mean, he went to LA, came back, and he played that game forever, and finally, him dying to get the Raiders into Vegas. And I think that the Oakland's time is done. I mean, they don't have a great fan base. They weren't filling the stands, for the Oakland A's. Most of the people that were watching the Warriors were from out of town. Coming up from San Jose, coming over from San Francisco, and the Oakland Raiders, they had a good base, but they weren't from around. There was very. It's just not a sports town. And with the Giants and the San Francisco 49ers that are the huge draws. I mean, you can argue with me all you want about the Raiders, but I mean the Giants, multi-time World Series champions, 49ers multi-time Super Bowl champions, and the Raiders, have just been always the fledgling. I love the Raiders. I love the Oakland A's, but the ownership and everything, that all falls on them, and I don't think it falls on the taxpayer of Oakland. I'm ready to say bye-bye to you.
I never liked that idea of taxpayers buying the stadium, but it's an investment in the city, right? If the city owns it, if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. But these demands of waterfront, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I got to tell you, if I had my choice, do you want to go to a Giants game or A's game? I'd go to the A's games.
Yeah, I would too, because
the stadium is more comfortable to me. All right, you don't have to climb a fire ladder to get to your seat. It's not a stadium that's only 50 feet wide and 300 feet tall.
That is true. That the new modern ballparks are smaller, and the accommodations for the fans, and they're still as big as they are, for the field and everything. But yeah, you are climbing a ladder up to your seats when you go to Oracle, and but the Oakland Coliseum, it's seen its day. I've seen concerts there, I've seen monster trucks there, I've seen ball games there, I've seen football games there. It's just at this time, and you know what? They had all the time in the world to upgrade. I mean, all they had to do was tear down the one side and build the other side up like they did in New York and New Jersey, and then as soon as that one side was done and the other side was prepped up, they could build the Coliseum up on the other side
or they could do like what they did in Shea Stadium and in Chicago.
Yeah,
you build a new one in the parking lot tear the old one down and make it a parking lot.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was saying. But unfortunately, the smart heads weren't there, and goodbye to Oakland, because I don't think that they have a chance to stay here in Oakland at all.
Yeah, it's too bad, man. I hate to lose another team in the Bay Area, but I mean that's it's a business, right?
Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah,
and
there's a reason why you could go to Home Depot and buy some neat thing one day, and then 6 months later go back and can't find it. It's because you're the only one that bought it and they took it off the shelves.
That is right. That is right for sure. So hey, look, Dougie, we're at the bottom of the stack. Finally.
No way. No. With all the talking we've been doing.
We're going to talk about the economy real quick, and this comes from, let me see, it comes from Market Watch, that the U.S. inflation soars in April to a 13-year high, and the CPA shows and stress on the economy. The numbers that the consumer prices rose again in April and drove the rate of inflation to the highest level in nearly 13 years, signaling greater stress on the economy as businesses grapple with the supply of shortages that are raising the cost of many goods and services. The consumer price index soared 0.8% to match the biggest monthly increase since 2009. The government said Wednesday. Economists polled Dow Jones and Wall Street Journal had forecast a milder 0.2 advance. The rate of inflation over the past year jumped 4.2 from 2.6 last month, which was the highest level since 2008. The pace of inflation has surged after years of languishing and usually low levels, largely due to the rapid reopening of the U.S. economy. We're looking down. Senior officials, senior Federal Reserve officials who were supposed to protect U.S. from high inflation insist that the increase is temporary and transitory. They've contained inflation and they contend inflation will subside by next year once the pandemic fades and most people go back to work and the global economy is largely recovered. So what happened? The price of a broad swath of goods and services rose by record amounts in April. Used cars, trucks, tires, computers, televisions, furniture, toys, computers, airline fares are among other things. The cost of some of these goods and services, such as plane tickets, fell sharply as the pandemic arose and are now recovering lost ground. Yet prices for other products like used vehicles are setting all-time highs, with used vehicle prices shot up 10% in April. The cost of used cars and trucks have now topped $25,000 for the first time, and prices have soared 21% in the past year, the CPI showed. The cost of food is also rising twice as fast as it did before the pandemic. And if food and gas prices set aside, so-called core consumer prices rose an even stronger 0.9% in April, and that pushed nearly the yearly rate up from 3% from 1.6, which is the highest in 26 years. The core rate is closely followed by economists as a more accurate as a measure for underlying inflation. The big picture is that inflation has risen sharply and it's going to stay high for a while. Businesses still can't get many vital supplies on time or reasonable prices, and now the cost of labor is going up. So it's a big mess out there, and it's one of those things that we're going to have to deal with. We were warned about this, when we started locking down the economy. The pandemic took its toll on everything. I think even with the government locking down the economy or the states locking down the economy, a lot of these things had to do with just the shock of having this blow through the way it did.
And also, there's supply line shortages. Yeah. So look at the price of lumber, 500%.
Absolutely.
It's up 500% from last year.
I was so lucky to get my fence in.
Look at the price of gas.
That's just incredible.
It's doubled. It's doubled in a year.
Yeah. Actually, but you know what? You think about it. The price of gas really has been kind of stable. I mean, we were paying this before Trump got into office. We were paying upwards of $4 a gallon for gas. It went down.
Yeah, now it's like $4.50 though.
Yeah, I've been paying $4.50 yet, but I've been paying like.
It depends on where you go.
At Costco.
Yeah. Oh.
So that's where I'm going. But no, the supply chain was really good. Has really been impacted. I really want to have John Odermatt on the podcast because he is a supply chain analyst and he does this for a couple of companies that contracts for.
Well, this is pretty simple too, right?
It is really.
companies lost a lot of money during the shutdowns. Okay, they need to make that money back. People weren't spending money during the shutdowns. Now they have money to spend.
Right.
Capitalism demands that if it's a higher demand, the price goes up.
That's right.
People are buying more stuff, the price is going to go up. You can call it inflation if you want.
Yeah.
All right, because it is, in a sense, an inflation in prices, right?
Yeah.
But it's caused because of
Right.
the drive of the consumer.
Right.
Right.
And you and I really call it inflation when we're talking about fuel prices, because both me and you have been going to work every day since the pandemic hit. So we saw the price, we saw the low prices of gas.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the empty roads. We had that convenience for a long time, and now we're back up to where we were paying, before Trump was in office and things like that.
Yeah, and the oil companies need to make all that money back that they lost when there wasn't anybody on the road.
Exactly. So and then top on that, we had the fuel flip, the seasonal fuel flip,
right, which always
which always brings up the gas prices and stuff. And actually, gas prices has come down 10 cents in the last 2 weeks, so we are seeing that ease there. But yeah, I mean, you're in the solar business, Dougie, so you have told me numerous times about supplies and trying to get circuit breakers and stuff like that was almost impossible during the middle of the pandemic. I don't know if
it still bloody is, man.
Yeah, and so
I mean, that panel I got for you for your generator.
Yeah,
there has not been one of those on the shelf since that one.
I
gold. I think I got the last one in the country.
I have gold. Nobody knows where I live. Nobody knows where I live.
Yeah, they have other ones, plenty of other panels, but not that brand. It's not there.
We've had these times before where we've had high inflation. I mean, I lived through, in my younger years, I lived through the
70s,
the Carter administration, where we had the high inflation and the gas shortages and things like that. Believe me, it has nothing to do with as much shortages as it has to do with embargoes, things like the pandemic that had stopped supply chains and stuff like that. They used to say, "Oh, there wasn't a gas shortage." There wasn't a gas shortage. The gas shortages are caused by things like the hackers. Gas shortages are caused by things like hurricanes. Gas shortages called like things like the barge being stuck in the middle of the freaking Suez Canal,
right? Or a war somewhere.
Or somewhere else. So I mean, these things are going to ebb and flow. Don't freak out, guys. The best thing you can do is, if you want to, hey, stock up on your non-perishable stuff. I mean, prices are going to go up. You're going to see prices go up. So if you want to buy, peanut butter's on sale, buy lots of peanut butter. Then you don't have to buy peanut butter 6 months down the road when it's 3 times the price that it is now. I mean, go out there and do the smart thing with your money. I mean, if inflation is going to go up, you might as well spend the money, because the money is going to be worthless down the road, right? So you might as well go ahead and spend it, but don't be stupid either. I mean, you don't want to leave yourself without anything, but you want to keep yourself prepared. And that would be my community is unity kind of thing. Is just like, keep yourself prepared. If
you like a lot of peanut butter, just buy a 55-gallon drum.
I mean, there you go. Buy rice, buy beans. I mean,
if you have the place to store them where they're not going to get spoiled.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of things in this world, when it comes down to these price gouges, or what you want to say, inflation and stuff like that, is just to be smart with your money. And those people that have been smart with their money and saving a little penny here and a dime there are going to fare out better than those who are just living week to week, and it's unfortunate sometimes that some people have to work week by week, but
that's an excellent point too, because a lot of people got a little bit of extra money that they didn't necessarily need. People like you and me, who were working through the whole pandemic, still got stimulus checks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of extra money that we got to spend on things that maybe we wouldn't have spent before. Not maybe major things, like we didn't go out and buy a new car.
No.
But maybe we bought a new dishwasher, or whatever, right? Yeah. Oh, we got the stimulus check. Let's put $600 onto a new carpet, whatever, right? People did that too, so that helps bring prices up because people are spending more.
Right. And it was funny how when I got my stimulus check, my dishwasher went out. So I mean, it's ironic how that worked. There's almost
it's funny. I
in there.
I didn't even know that.
Anyway, we've had a great time tonight. I'm going to give you guys a couple of pointers here. We need support. I mean, this podcast doesn't exist just because me and Dougie, we enjoy doing this. This is our hobby. We get to do this every week. We get to call each other, and you guys get to listen in on our discussion. We hope that it's an interesting discussion for you because we're the best podcast you've never heard of. But we like your support also. One way you can support is listen to the podcast. Go to anchor.fm and / the Weather Soul podcast. And for every time that you listen, we get a small smidgen, maybe a penny or two, because you listen to us. But another thing that we need is we need other support too. So for 99 cents a month, where can you find a deal like that? For 99 cents a month of the nation, you get to watch us every week. You get to listen to us every week. And you're going to get a newsletter from yours truly, aka the Weather Soul, with all the links and all the stuff that we ever talk about, even some of my opinions that I loosely fly all over the place that I make Doug's head explode with. So if you want to hear the stuff that explodes Doug's head, give us 99 cents a month, and I'll be glad to send you a weekly newsletter. For $4.99 a month, not only will you get a weekly newsletter, but we will answer your comments, your questions. We will do a topic for you. We will do anything that you need to do on our Community is Unity segment, which is our last segment of the podcast. We will do that for you for $4.99 a month. We will do that for you every single time without fail. And for $9.99 a month, I will give you a 30-second read to promote your product, your website, or your company for $9.99 a month. You can't get a better deal or a better advertisement from any podcast anywhere that's going to give you that. A 30-second read one time per month for $9.99. Just go to anchor.fm / the Weather Soul. Hit the I want to support the podcast. Pick your monthly donation. We will be very, very grateful that you would do that. Also, I talk about Plexus products, my plant-based supplement and probiotics business. info.inthepitomizestomach@gmail.com. That's going to be down in the show notes also. If you want to hear about how I feel good and how I'm going through my wellness journey right now, I'm feeling like $1 million since last August with Plexus products. I can't be any more excited about how good I feel right now. And Doug, this is the time where it is. We went 7 minutes overtime today. We ought to do a bonus.
I just want to say one thing. Okay, for the $9.99 a month, Bruce gives you a 30-second read. That might not sound like a long time, but it's 30 seconds of Bruce.
Bruce, aka the Weather Soul, that's for sure. That's
right on.
But we appreciate you guys. You guys that were listening or watching us on YouTube, or watching us on Facebook, hit that like button, hit that share button, share this with a friend, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. I promise you, if you guys do that, we will be back next week at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another edition of the Weather Soul podcast, the best podcast you've never ever heard of. DJ, it's time to say goodnight. Say goodnight, Dougie.
Good night, Dougie.
And we love you guys. Thank you for being here. And we will see you